Good day, my name is Gregory. Today we'll be looking at Unit 8 in the New Headway Plus Elementary book. Some of the things we will be looking at today are past simple, negatives and ago, forming nouns and adjectives, and what's the date. So to start with, what is the past simple of these verbs? And most of these verbs are irregular. Have a look at them and see what you think. Write down what you think is the past simple of these verbs. And let's check your answers. Eat, ate. Drink, drank. Drive, drove. Fly, flew. Listen to, listened to. Make, made. Ride, rode. Take, took. Watch, watched. Wear, wore. One of these is a regular verb. Do you know which one it is? Remember, a regular verb is one that is usually formed by adding ed to the present simple. And the only one that matches that is watch and watched. So watch is a regular verb. All the others are irregular verbs. Now, I want you to match all of these verbs with each of these pictures. So which verb goes with which picture? What do you think? Have a look and fill in the gaps. Coca-Cola, what would you do with Coca-Cola? You would drink Coca-Cola. Photographs, the radio, planes, jeans, television, phone calls, and bikes. Which verbs go with those? And if you're finished, let's check your answers. We drink Coca-Cola. We take photographs. We listen to the radio. We fly planes. We wear jeans. We make phone calls. We drive cars. We eat burgers. We watch television and we ride bikes. How did you do with those? Did you get them? If you did, well done. What year was it 100 years ago? If this year it is 2018, what year was it 100 years ago? It would have been 1918, not so. And you can work with a partner and ask and answer questions about things in the pictures. What did people do and what didn't they do? Did people drive cars 100 years ago? Yes, I think they did. I'm not sure. No, they didn't. Now, I can tell you when each of these items was invented or became popular. When do you think these things happened? For instance, when were cars invented? In 1893. And that's how many years ago? Over 100, about 110 years ago, cars were invented. Let's check our answers. Coca-Cola was invented in 1886. The camera was invented in 1826. Radio was invented in 1901. The first plane was invented in 1903. And the first flight across the Channel was in 1909. The channel they are talking about is the English Channel, which separates France and England. Jeans were invented in 1873, made by Levi Strauss. So jeans were invented in 1873, that's many years ago. The phone was invented in 1876. Cars were invented in 1893, and a Benz went at 18 miles per hour. Can you imagine that? Top speed of 18 miles per hour, which is about 30 kilometers an hour. Burgers were invented in 1895. The television was invented in 1926, and bikes were invented in about 1840. So television has been around for less than 100 years. Did you know that? I didn't. Let us look at this grammar spot. What we have here are present simple statements, and what we want is for you to write the past simple statements of those sentences. Present simple refers to things that are always true or that are true for a long time. For instance, I live in London. Past simple, I lived in London. Now, what about the rest? Go through them and complete the blanks. Give the past simple of each of these sentences. Finished? Let's check your answers. He lives in London. He lived in London. Do you live in London? Did you live in London? Does she live in London? Did she live in London? I don't live in London. I didn't live in London. He doesn't live in London. He doesn't live in London. He didn't live in London. Did you get those? Good, not too difficult. Let's have a look at the grammar reference on page 129, 8.1 and 8.2. (8.1) Past simple. Negative. Negatives in the past simple are the same for all persons. So for I, he, she, we, you, and they, didn't go out, didn't see Tom, didn't watch TV last night. So for all persons, it is the same. Then we have ago. After the word ago, you will have a period of time which tells you how long in the past something happened. For instance, I went to the USA 10 years ago. I went to the USA 2 weeks ago. I went to the USA a month ago. So before ago, you have a period of time which tells you how long in the past something happened. Then we have time expressions, and we use in, on, and at. In the 20th century, in 1924, in the 1990s, in winter, in summer, in the evening, in the morning, in September. On the 10th of October, on Saturday, on Sunday morning. At 7 o'clock, at weekends, at night. We'll be doing more of these, and you'll eventually become quite familiar with them. Let's go back and continue with unit number 8. Practice. The dates in the text are all incorrect. So I want you to listen to the audio and correct the dates. So read along, and when you hear the error, cross it out and fill in the correct information.
Unit 8. Tape script 8.1. Jeans.
Two Americans, Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss, made the first jeans in 1873. Davis bought cloth from Levi's shop. He told Levi that he had a special way to make strong trousers for workmen. The first jeans were blue. In 1935, jeans became fashionable for women after they saw them in Vogue magazine. In the 1970s, Calvin Klein earned $12.5 million a week from jeans.
Television.
A Scotsman, John Logie Baird, transmitted the first television picture on the 25th of October 1925. The first thing on television was a boy who worked in the office next to Baird's workroom in London. In 1927, Baird sent pictures from London to Glasgow. In 1928, he sent pictures to New York and also produced the first colour TV pictures.
Aspirin.
Felix Hoffmann, a 29-year-old chemist who worked for the German company Bayer, invented the drug aspirin in March 1899. He gave the first aspirin to his father for his arthritis. By 1950, it was the best-selling painkiller in the world, and in 1969, the Apollo astronauts took it to the moon. The Spanish philosopher José Ortega y Gasset called the 20th century the age of aspirin.
Okay, did you spot the mistakes? Did you correct the incorrect dates that were given? Let's check your answers. The first one, they didn't make the first jeans in 1923, they made them in 1873. Jeans didn't become fashionable for women in 1965, they became fashionable for women in 1935. Calvin Klein didn't earn $12.5 million a week from jeans in the 1990s. He earned $12.5 million a week from jeans in the 1970s. Baird didn't transmit the first television picture on the 25th of November 1905. He transmitted it on the 25th of October 1925. Baird didn't send pictures from London to Glasgow in 1929. He sent them in 1927. And Baird didn't send pictures to New York in 1940. He sent them in 1928. Felix Hoffmann didn't invent aspirin in 1879. He invented it in 1899. Aspirin wasn't the best-selling painkiller by 1940. It was the best-selling painkiller by 1950. And the Apollo astronauts didn't take aspirin to the moon in 1959. They took it to the moon in 1969. How did you do? Did you get them all correct? If so, well done. And here we come back to time expressions. And we have expressions like 7 o'clock, the morning, Saturday, Sunday evening. And we have in, on, and at. So for instance, with 7 o'clock, would you say in 7 o'clock, on 7 o'clock, or at 7 o'clock? Go through the list and decide which of these prepositions goes with which of these expressions. And if you've completed that, let's have a look at the answers. We talk about at 7 o'clock, in the morning, on Saturday, on Sunday evening, at night, in September, at weekends, in summer, in 1994, in the 20th century. How did you do? And work with a partner. Ask and answer questions with when. Use a time expression and ago in the answer. Remember with ago, before the word ago, we have a time period which tells us how long in the past something happened. So for instance, when did you get up? At 7 o'clock, 3 hours ago. When did this term start? In September, 2 months ago. And work with your partner and ask questions like, When did you get up? When did you have breakfast? When did you arrive at school? And so on. Go through the list and take turns at asking the questions and answering the questions. And remember to use ago. Now, for instance, when did you last use a computer? About 10 minutes ago. When did you learn to ride a bicycle? Ooh, that was many years ago. And then tell your partner about how your day has been so far. Begin with something like this. I got up at 7 o'clock, had breakfast, left the house at 7:30, and so on and so on. And just describe your day. It is good practice for thinking in English and expressing yourself in English. The more you use it, the easier it will become. Then we move on to vocabulary and pronunciation. Forming nouns. Use one of these endings to complete the nouns. So, for instance, number one, they have done for you. I watched television last night after I had din. And to complete that, you would add er, and you'll have after I had dinner. Now go through the rest of them, the other 9, and complete the words with these endings to make a complete sentence. You finished? Let us check your answers and see how you did. What we have is, number 1, television, dinner. Number 2, number, meeting. Number 3, application, reception. Number 4, arrival, passengers. Number 5, information, computer. Number 6, summer, experience. Number 7, wedding, flowers. Number 8, exhibition, drawings. Number 9, daughter, teenager. And number 10, shopping and sweater. Were you able to complete all of those verbs? If you did, nicely done. Now, if you look at the beginning of a dictionary, usually on the first few pages, they have phonetic spelling. It is spelling that tells you how words are pronounced. And when you are learning a new language, when you're learning English, it is a good idea to learn how to pronounce the words phonetically. So what do you think these words are? Let's listen first.
Tape script 8.4.
1. Computer. 2. Shopping. 3. Passenger. 4. Reception. 5. Flowers. 6. Exhibition. 7. Daughter. 8. Arrival.
Okay. Remember, the phonetic spelling is to tell you how to pronounce the word. The English spelling is how you would write the word. And here they are. Computer, shopping, passenger, reception, flowers, exhibition, daughter, and arrival. Practice saying those words. And I would advise you to go to the front of your dictionary and get to know the phonetic alphabet and the phonetic spelling. So that was forming nouns. Now we are going to look at forming adjectives. Remember, an adjective is a word that tells us more about a noun. For instance, this ice cream is delicious. I love it, but it's very expensive. Expensive. So we're doing the same thing with adjectives as we did with verbs. I want you to complete the adjectives using these endings in the box above. So have a look at numbers 2 down to 10 and complete those adjectives. And if you have finished, let's check your answers. Number 1, delicious, expensive. Number 2, happy, friendly. Number 3, dangerous, careful. Number 4, famous, noisy. Number 5, wonderful, enormous. Number 6, lovely, sunny. Number 7, comfortable, excellent. Number 8, excited, fantastic. Number 9, important and useful. And number 10, exciting and different. And as we did with the verbs, we have the phonetic spelling of each of these words. Practice saying them. First, let's listen, and then we will look at the spelling.
Tape script 8.5. 1,
Famous,
2,
important,
3,
exciting,
4,
delicious,
5,
enormous,
6,
different,
7,
excited,
8.
fantastic.
Okay, we've heard the pronunciation. Now let's have a look at the spelling. Famous, important, exciting, delicious, enormous, different, excited, and fantastic. Okay, let's move along. Listening and speaking. The first time I went abroad. Going abroad means going to another country, going overseas, going into a different culture with different people, different languages, and a whole different way of life. So what's good about going abroad? And what's not so good? Add your ideas to the boxes. What's good is it's exciting. You can see new places. Not so good? Perhaps you don't speak the language and everything is strange. What other things can you think of that you could add to those lists? What are things that are good about going abroad and things that are not so good? Write down your ideas. And here's a few more ideas for you. What's good is it's exciting. You can see new places. You can meet new people. You can learn a new language. You can try new food. You can do different things. Not so good? Perhaps you don't speak the language. Everything is strange. The food is different. You can get ill. You aren't at home with your parents. You don't make new friends. So as with everything in life, there is good and not so good about traveling abroad. Now, you are going to hear two people talking about the first time they went abroad. Put the words of the interviewer's questions in A in the right order, and then write in an answer from B. So first put the question in the right order, and then decide which is the correct answer from this column. So number 1, for instance, would be, how old were you? Yeah, they've done it for you. How old were you? And the answer is, I was 8. I was 8. Number 2, they've done for you. Where did you go to? So look for the answer there. And what I want you to do is for 1 to 8, write the questions in A and write the answers in B. And if you are finished, let's listen and check your answers.
Tape script 8.6. 1,
How old were you when you first went abroad?
I was 8. I was very excited.
2,
Where did you go to?
To France. My parents had friends there.
3,
Who did you go with?
My family and my grandparents.
4,
How did you travel?
By plane. It was really exciting.
5,
How long did the journey take?
About 4 hours. It wasn't long, but I was tired.
6,
Where did you stay?
In a hotel. It was really comfortable.
7,
What did you do?
We travelled around and visited friends.
8,
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was great. I had a fantastic time.
Okay, listen again. And apart from the answer that you wrote in, for instance, I was 8, I want you to write in the additional comments that B makes. For instance, the answer is, I was 8, but then he adds, I was very excited. So I want you to write in the additional comments that B makes. Listen again.
tape script 8.6. 1,
How old were you when you first went abroad?
I was 8. I was very excited.
2,
Where did you go to?
To France. My parents had friends there.
3,
Who did you go with?
My family and my grandparents.
4,
How did you travel?
By plane. It was really exciting.
5,
How long did the journey take?
About 4 hours. It wasn't long, but I was tired.
6,
Where did you stay?
In a hotel. It was really comfortable.
7,
What did you do?
We travelled around and visited friends.
8,
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was great. I had a fantastic time.
Okay. Did you complete that? And here you can check your work again and your spelling. The additional comments are in bold type. I was very excited, my parents, and so on and so on. So check your work, check your spelling. Spelling is important. Okay, let's move along. Now listen to Peter and Yasmina talking about the first time they went abroad. And answer questions 1 to 8 in exercise 2 for each of them. So listen to what Peter and Yasmina say and answer the same questions for them. Listen.
tape script 8.7.
How old were you when you first went abroad?
I was 14. Quite old, really.
Where did you go to?
I went to Hungary, to a small town 50 miles from Budapest.
Who did you go with?
Well, it was a school exchange, so I went with other students and teachers from school.
How did you travel?
By train and boat, then train again. We didn't fly because that was too expensive.
How long did the journey take?
Ages. About 14 hours. We left England at 6 in the morning and we arrived at 8 in the evening.
Where did you stay?
Well, with a Hungarian family. They were there at the station when we arrived, and it was very difficult because I didn't speak Hungarian and they didn't speak any English, so we couldn't say much.
What happened then?
We drove back to their house, and there were about 40 friends and relatives to meet me. I wanted to go to bed because I was so tired, but we all sat down for dinner. The meal didn't finish until midnight.
What did you do in Hungary?
Well, I lived with a family, and they were really nice. I really liked my exchange student, Joseph. He was 15. We played football and visited his friends. And his parents took me to the zoo. We had lots of picnics. The weather was lovely.
Did you enjoy it?
I had a wonderful time. Joseph's parents were really friendly, especially his mother. And I loved Hungarian food.
How old were you when you first went abroad?
I was 10.
And where did you go to? Can you remember?
Oh, yes. Of course I can. I went to England to visit my uncle, who lives in West London.
And who did you go with?
My father, mother, and 2 brothers. One of my brothers was just a baby.
How did you travel? By plane, I suppose.
Yes, we flew into Heathrow Airport, but when we arrived, there was a problem. We couldn't find my uncle and aunt because our plane was late. We looked everywhere and waited and waited. Then, after an hour, we found them.
So how long did the journey take?
Well, it was about 9 or 10 hours.
Where did you stay?
In my uncle's house in Acton. When we arrived, there was a party for all our relatives and Egyptian friends. We had lots of Egyptian food and mint tea. I remember I didn't go to bed until 10 o'clock.
What did you do in England?
Well, my uncle has 3 children, so I played with my cousins. We visited a lot of places in London. Buckingham Palace, the London Eye. But it was very cold. It was March, so the weather wasn't very good.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yes, it was fantastic. London is enormous. There is so much to see and do. I loved it.
Okay. So, did you answer the same questions for Peter and Yasmina? Good. Let's check your answers then. For part A, these are the answers to Peter's questions. And part 2, these are the answers to Yasmina's questions. And these are the questions you remember, 1 to 8 that you did in exercise number 2. So, compare your answers with these answers and see how you did. Now, what's the date? Write the correct word next to the numbers. These are called ordinals, and they are meant to represent the position in a list. So, the first is the first day of the month. The second is the second day of the month. Now, what I want you to do is to write the correct word next to each of these. There are all the words, all the ordinal positions, and I want you to write the correct one next to the number. And we can go through those. We have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6th, 10th, 12th, 13th, 16th, 17th, 20th, 21st, 30th, and 31st. Listen and practice saying these ordinals.
Tape script 8.8.
First. Second.
Practice saying these.
Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. 10th. 12th. 13th. 16th. 17th. 20th. 21st. 30th. 31st.
Okay. And just to help you check your answers more easily, here's the list of the ordinals and a list of the words. Compare what you've got with the information here. All done? Good. Ask and answer questions with a partner about the months of the year. For instance, which is the first month? It's January. Which is the sixth month? It is June, and so on. The way we write dates is 3/4/1999 or April or 3 April 1999. Day is the third day of April. 4 is the fourth month, which is April, and the year 1999. And we say the 3rd of April 1999 or April the 3rd, 1999. Notice how we say these years: 1900, 1905, 2001. Now practice saying these dates. What is that? 1st of April, 2nd of March, that one, 17th of September, 19th November, 23rd June, this one, 29 February 1976, 19th December 1983, 3rd October 1999, 31st of May 2000, and 15th of July 2010. Let's listen to that.
Tape script 8.9. 1.
The 1st of April.
April the 1st.
2.
The 2nd of March.
March the 2nd.
3.
The 17th of September.
September the 17th.
4.
The 19th of November.
November the 19th.
5.
The 23rd of June.
June the 23rd.
6.
The 29th of February, 1976.
7.
The 19th of December, 1983.
8.
The 3rd of October, 1999.
9.
The 31st of May, 2000.
10.
The 15th of July, 2010.
Okay. And again, I recommend that you practice that. Just to check your spelling, there are all 10 dates. April, the 1st of April, April the 1st, and so on and so on. Check your work, and if you got them all correct, very well done. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope that you have found what we have done today useful, that you'll be able to use it in your life. And I do recommend that you practice this as much as possible. The more you use the English that you learn, the easier it will become and the more confident you will become. So go through all the exercises again and practice saying the words, saying the sentences, asking the questions, because the more you use English, the better you'll become at using English. I will see you again next time. Thank you very much.